In order to encourage tourism in conjunction with this year's Olympic Games, China is pushing to get people into the Xinjiang region, the area where the genocide of 1 million or more native Uyghurs is taking place. Reportedly, President Xi Jinping has personally called for 300 million Chinese people to ski, though presumably not all at the same time.
This is BOESCHLIT. Good morning, I'm Kurt Balderdash, and this is BOESCHLIT, your bi-weekly business and technology podcast that has twice as much fiber as inexpensive flat-pack furniture. But first, here's what's boiling our potatoes today. Tesla is set to recall nearly 54,000 self-driving vehicles in the United States because the software allows them to automatically roll through stop signs. This follows another recall that permitted the driver to play games on the big screen while the car was in motion. It's rumored that Tesla is developing an updated software feature that allows the driver to cook breakfast on the way to work while juggling hammers. Companies that went public through SPACs have suffered the most during the recent tech-driven market sell-off. Now SPACs are focusing on the next speculative arena, the metaverse. Of course, why not? Expect to see large amounts of capital being dumped off in front of game developers and virtual real estate holders in an attempt to sufficiently multiply zero by a very large number. Meta, formerly named Facebook, came up short on its fourth quarter profit and user numbers. Fourth quarter daily active users on Facebook were down compared to the previous quarter, making this the first time that's ever happened. Facebook claims it's due to a combination of factors, including privacy changes to Apple's iOS and macroeconomic challenges. It also blamed COVID, Joe Rogan, and deceased Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands. In other Meta news, Meta is tossing in the towel on its cryptocurrency dreams and selling off its intellectual property. Several years ago, Meta, then Facebook, announced the creation of its own cryptocurrency called Libra. Later, it would rename it to Diem, after a number of large partners started to bail on the effort. Although there were many contributing factors in the failure of the effort, the main two were that no one trusted Facebook with this much creepy power, and no government wants competition in the arena of creepy powers. More on the crypto-verse. The IMF wants El Salvador to remove Bitcoin's legal tender status in the country, although they did provide a statement of why, and used a lot of big words. It boils down to competition. The IMF doesn't want any. Helmut Klamp, a senior advisor to an international finance think tank, states it this way: how can the IMF lend countries large sums of money with lots of strings attached so they can tell them what to do if those countries find a way to diversify their economies and possibly one day no longer need IMF loans? Or even worse, pay them back. It would be a catastrophe. As we have been reporting, SPACs, aka frenetic clueless money, have taken it on the chin in the past year. But some SPACs are pivoting to new opportunities, after their bets on green vehicles and cryptocurrencies went bad. SPACs collectively are down more than 40% from last February's peak. Unfortunately for them, recent volatility for tech and metaverse stocks likely made matters more difficult. That's the nature of the beast, said Matthew Tuttle, Chief Executive Officer of Tuttle Capital Management, which runs an index that tracks SPAC returns. You have to do something to get and keep investor interest, he said. How do you do that? You find the new toy. So the SPAC party bus rolls on, just down a different road. According to Henry the Dorfman of Dorfman Investments, SPACs have become the drunken frat kids in a late-night bar a half hour before last call, when not one, not two, but 3 bridesmaids parties show up. Even the ugly companies get funded. And now the numbers. Minus 459.67. minus 273.15. 32, 0, 212, and 100.
I don't mean to get personal, but when was the last time you ate a kumquat? Do you feel naughty hearing me say the word kumquat? Do you even know what a kumquat is? Well, a kumquat is a small yellow-orange, football-shaped citrus fruit with a unique flavor combination of both sweet and sour that transports you to somewhere warm, somewhere sunny, somewhere that's not Minnesota in February. Pick up some kumquats today at your local grocery store. If they don't have any, demand them. Kumquats are your right. Don't bother checking the Constitution. Just believe me, they are your right. And everyone deserves to be somewhere warm and sunny, especially in February. Brought to you by the National Kumquat Council, located in sunny Florida. Don't you wish you were too?
The National Kumquat Council has just announced a new campaign to get more people eating kumquats. The kumquat is a small citrus fruit that has both sweet and sour flavors. However, some people refuse to even try the small fruits, and most people have never heard of them. Bridget Onmakar is a spokeswoman for the National Kumquat Council in Citrus Beach, Florida. Why the big advertising push now for kumquats?
We believe the time is right to expand our market. Every year more Americans try them and are amazed at the taste.
How many?
On average nearly 50,000 people buy them in grocery stores every year.
In a country of 330 million. Sounds like you have your work cut out for you.
It is a challenge, but with the proper outreach campaign and education, the people will come to realize their benefits.
What benefits are those?
Kumquats are rich in vitamins, especially vitamin C. They are high in fiber, and they taste both sweet and sour, so you only need one fruit instead of two. They are small, they don't take up much room. They have oval shapes, so they make great snacks during football season.
Can they be peeled and eaten like oranges?
Actually, you eat them by squeezing them to release the sugars which are in the outer soft rind of the fruit, then pop the entire thing into your mouth and chew. The sour flavor comes from inside, and it mixes with the sweet flavor of the peel.
So it's sweet on the outside and sour on the inside. Sounds more like a date to me.
Why do you say that?
Because it sounds like every date I've ever had. Thank you, Bridget Onmakar.
Saucy on the outside and salte on the inside. This is BOESCHLIT. Yeah!
The 2022 Winter Olympic Games have begun in China, despite the long shadow of genocide looming over them. Now China wants to develop the Uyghur region into a tourist destination for winter activities. Peter Dongle reports.
In order to encourage tourism in conjunction with this year's Olympic Games, China is pushing to get people into the Xinjiang region, the area where the genocide of 1 million or more native Uyghurs is taking place. Reportedly, President Xi Jinping has personally called for 300 million Chinese people to ski, though presumably not all at the same time. Some in the Chinese government wish to develop Western China into a winter sports paradise. Despite the genocide taking place in the region, American companies like snowboarding company Burton are working hard to take advantage of the development push and are seeking to participate in its creation. According to a BBC report, on the allegations of what some Western governments have described as torture and inhumane and degrading treatment, Craig Smith, head of Burton's China subsidiary, said, "Yes, there may be some, factually I don't know. I'm not a politician. I've never studied any type of aspect of that." Right. I'm sure he is just following orders. How far the West has fallen from 1945. In a similarly cowardly act, the United Nations was expected to publish its report on the Uyghur genocide in China before the Games, but this did not happen. There was a deal struck to let the UN rights chief Michelle Bachelet visit the region, but only if the report came out after the Games, and her visit was also after the Games. China did not want anything to distract from their efforts to use the games to distract from the genocide. The UN, riddled with Chinese influence, acquiesced. In an obvious and cynical attempt to whitewash the issue, China used a Uyghur during the Olympic flame lighting ceremony. Chinese Olympics officials were heard saying, "We have no problem with Uyghurs. Some of my best friends were Uyghurs." It's too soon to see if the International Olympics Committee will hold future genocide games, but a boycott of this one would go far in helping them to make such a decision. Hopefully, this will happen before the Uyghurs are replaced by Burton snowboard stores and McDonald's.
And finally, at last month's Tampa RV Super Show, Winnebago and Thor Industries showed off their electric RV concepts. The Winnebago e-RV concept is built on a Ford Transit platform and has a measly 125-mile range, which is a non-starter for the kind of travel people use RVs for, and takes 45 minutes to recharge. With that kind of recharge time, it's a good thing you have a place to sleep. Thor's solution has a greater range of 300 miles, but involves the use of a hydrogen fuel cell. Supposedly, you will be able to swap out fuel cell cassettes and replace them with full ones. Somewhere. Sometime. In the future. But hydrogen takes far more energy to make, transport, and store than you get out of it, making it presently an impractical fuel source. In addition, electric charging stations are relatively scarce, but hydrogen cassette swap stations are non-existent. Despite the fact Thor claims they could have their e-RV out in a few years. So expect to see them stopped along America's highways soon. That's all for now. Join us again next time. Different day, same BOESCHLIT.